Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles. To be quite specific, hello everybody and welcome to the TNAM Radio Network. This is Agree to Disagree, and I'm going to be your host, Brian Engelman, as I have been, well, I've been Brian Engelman my entire life, of course, but I've been your host here on Agree to Disagree at thenewamericanmedia.com for about 3 years. Oh my god, I think we're only, what is it, May 1st? I think May 1st. What's that, May Day? Yeah, I think that's May Day. That's going to be our 3-year anniversary, so thank you for sticking around. We want you to connect in all the places that we disseminate our information because we put different things in different mediums for different people. So, on Twitter, we're at American_media_. Go over there and click follow, please. Go on Facebook and search The New American Media with spaces in between, The New American Media, and like the page. Check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com, of course. And YouTube. Man, we've been having a bunch of interest over on that YouTube channel. Maybe it was from all that Bundy coverage. Blake Walley has been a special correspondent over there, and I visited with Blake when that Bundy Ranch battle was occurring. We interviewed a lot of the key players just to get their side of the story and hear what they have to say. I didn't want to hear what ABC or Fox wanted me to say. I wanted to go talk to him in person, then you guys can judge. So we got a bunch of footage over there. We've had a lot of subscribers, so please click subscribe, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. So welcome back. I appreciate each and every one of you listening to the program. And coming up right after this segment, we're going to welcome NBA scout Zach Barris. We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. And you know how those conversations usually go with Zach. We devolve and talk about all sorts of different things. But first, we're going to just jump into the stuff that's been going on, the stories you've been caring about, and we're going to get Blake the eccentric Walley into the program and just dive right in because we only have him for a short time today. And of course we're going to talk about the Bundy Ranch, of course.
Hello.
Blake, welcome to Agree to Disagree. You're live. How you doing, sir?
Awesome, Brian. How are you?
You sound energetic beyond belief.
It's been a busy day.
I know, man, and I've been listening to your radio show. By the way, Blake does a radio show every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from noon to 1:30 p.m. Pacific on freedomizerradio.com. Yes, that's a fake word, freedomizerradio.com. And you can search, what is that, on iTunes, search Eccentric Perspective and get the podcast. And on Twitter, you're at Eccentric99. But I've been listening to your radio show, as I usually do. And yeah, you've been absolutely wiped out. You have been tired beyond belief, and I appreciate the work that you've been doing because I was able to come out, as I mentioned in the top of the program, that I went out to the Bundy Ranch with you. Not the Bunny Ranch, as I keep saying, it sounds so similar. The Cliven Bundy Ranch in Nevada, where the BLM is shooting cattle for fun. We went up there to interview people, but then you went the following weekend, and you've been doing a whole bunch of video editing. I think you did a great job there. And, yeah, you're absolutely exhausted, and you've been saying as such. So to the listeners,
right.
let me step aside and just kind of say hello and tell them why you've been so tired and the footage you've been getting and why you think this story is important. Then I want to get into these Cliven Bundy comments, of course, that everybody's all bent out of shape about, as they should be, in my opinion. But I'm going to play them, and then we can talk about it. So here you go.
Right. So, but thank you, Brian. Yes, I was doing quite a bit of work, and yes, up late, up early, doing the radio show. I am also a bartender on the side, so yeah, you're up late and then up early doing the radio, or up late doing video editing, or all that stuff. So it's just been a lot on my plate. But I have slept pretty good the last couple of nights, getting caught up, so I am refreshed. The only unfortunate thing is I do only have about 15 minutes of time or so to speak with you. I would, of course, have to go back to the day job, but anyway. No, so let's. I'm ready to roll when you are. I forgot. Is there another question you had there?
I ask so many questions. Who cares anymore?
Right.
I usually just usually ramble until people stop me. I noticed on that Oath Keepers interview, it's got like 7,000 views. It has like 150 likes, and I think it had 0 dislikes. At least one of the last times I checked. And my joke is, I get a lot fewer dislikes when I shut up. All I did was ask 3 questions. I didn't even say a thing. But I like to have
Oh,
conversation.
you're being way too hard on yourself, Brian. You're a very talented dude. I know people were busting on you because one time you interrupted John B. Wells during your Flight 370 talk, and then everybody started freaking out about it.
I know you can't please anybody all the time, and I'm fine with that. But anyway, let's jump into Cliven Bundy. This is the stuff going on, and now he's a racist. Okay, and I've read the comments, but here I got him right here. Let's listen to it. It's 1:22 long. Let's hear what this video is about, and then we can comment on it because now it's I don't know how in the hell this turned into a left-right issue. It's so stupid, but it's not. Anyway, I just here we go. Cliven Bundy comments.
The Negro. I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro. When I go through Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and I would see these little government houses, and in front of that government house, the door was usually open, and the older people and the kids, and there's always at least a half a dozen people sitting on the porch. They didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have nothing for their kids to do. They didn't have nothing for their young girls to do. And because they were basically on government subsidy, and so now what do? They abort their young children. They put their young men in jail because they never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves, picking cotton, having family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy? They just transferred it, that's all. Yeah, they didn't get no more freedom. They got less freedom. They had less family alive, and their happiness, you can see in their faces, they weren't happy sitting on that concrete sidewalk. Down there, they were probably growing their turnips. So that's all government. That's not freedom.
Okay, so there it was, the Cliven Bundy comments. I don't know. Blake, your reaction first.
Well, now there has been an update. Let me be fair. Let me be very clear up front. Yes, they were very ignorant, and they could be very well painted as racist, but people were also thinking that it could have been taken out of context, and that appears, well, actually that is the case to some extent. Now, he did get the chance to clarify his remarks, but it did the full video, because it kind of starts off like right at a very opportune time and ends sort of at an opportune time. So as it turns out, there is much more to that video than is what the public has been shown. It has been selectively edited to push a certain narrative, and of course yesterday the liberal media was just absolutely going nuts. They just twisted the entire story into that, where this is basically the issue is about an overreaching federal government that's getting way too powerful. And then it turned into, oh, now this guy's a racist, so no, nothing more to see here. Oh, my God, if you support this guy, you're a racist, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God, racist, racist, racist. And that's pretty much twisted the narrative. And in fact, if you do follow me on Twitter, and I hope that you do, you can see all the stories that I've put out today. One of them included by Larry Elder, who's a radio host. He's also a black man or an African American.
Yeah, he's right over. He's right over here in Los Angeles. His studio's right around the corner.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah, he also commented on that for people falling for the race card, and he went after all the people, including he was critical of Sean Hannity for just kind of bailing on him without getting the context, and then for the liberal media just to pressure everybody, everybody's got to take a distance away and stop supporting him just because of this. So we figured there was, everybody needs to calm down. Let's take a look at the story here, a little more extensive look. And then, boom, yeah, the video pops up today. And there's a couple places. One was on the Drudge Report that linked to Truth Revolt. The one I'm looking at right now is from Infowars.com, and it says, unedited video shows Bundy making pro-black, pro-Mexican comments. And it is my headline story on my Twitter feed right now. So, and let me say this, just to kind of summarize that, as a writer that is quoted at the end of the article named Jack Flash, who says, and maybe I should just get into the comments too. I don't know, Brian, if you want to play that, the other parts, see the beginning and the end. What he was saying is that,
man, I'll gladly play them. Where are the links at? Do you say you just sent them out onto your Twitter feed, or where do I need to find them?
Yeah, if you pull up the Twitter feed and you check my headline story, where it says...
And by the way, that would be at Eccentric. That would be at Eccentric99 for all of y'all not following Blake.
Yep.
He finds good stories.
ENTRIC. Yep, I do a lot of news research, so I spend hours every day, so... You don't have to. You can just get all the highlights. The only problem is I'm on the West Coast, so I hope I'm not a little too late to the party for some. But
do you want me to? I have them right here. Do you want me to play them after you leave? Because we only have you for a little bit of time. I'll gladly play it after you're gone.
Yeah, you can get to that. So basically, so it provides a little bit more context, and it's basically saying, I don't know if I can get to this quote here. Says that it's 100% clear that, or do I want to spoil it? Maybe you can listen to it and you can tell that other part of the story, Brian, when you have time afterwards and you can finish that story off. But, yeah, people should go check out the Larry Elder article and as well as that new InfoWars or Truth Revolt, or I'm sure there's other people carrying that too as well, getting the full context, the full picture, if you will.
Yeah, I'm reading it now as we're talking, and I'll gladly play it. I just wanted to say with this whole thing, wow, so many angles.
They were crude, they were insensitive, and
you know what? I think statistically, I don't know if I get what he's saying, but if we want to...
the whole cotton picking thing didn't need to be put in there.
I mean, this isn't a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
People being dependent on the government. Yeah, it's
what is that from Bugs Bunny? Just
correct.
wait a cotton picking moment. Wasn't that like a Bugs Bunny cartoon? Foghorn Leghorn or?
Yeah, but we're also talking about a 70-year-old rancher here.
Now you know what I will say. I will say
right.
that I interviewed Cliven Bundy's sister, Margaret Houston, and she said, we grew up here and we were pretty isolated over here, and it was kind of weird when a car would come by and be like, oh, what the heck is that? And I found that comment interesting. That's in the video at thenewamericanmedia.com. And this is a group of people, it's a family that's been doing their own thing for a long time, and maybe not hip to just how hyper politically correct everything is. Now, if the point that he was getting at is, do government handouts help people? Do government handouts encourage the next generation to gain knowledge, skills, self-responsibility, and lift themselves out of poverty and help their parents? When they get a good job and they get out of that vicious cycle of poverty. To specifically target any race of people is ridiculous. My understanding, last I checked the statistics, more white people are on welfare than any other group. Last time I checked the statistics, and I think the question of do government handouts, do subsidies, do food stamps, do WIC cards, do subsidized housing, do all these things help pull people out of poverty, or does it encourage people to become lazy and become entitled and say, where's my money, where's my check, where's my stuff? I ain't gonna get a job. I'm not getting a job. There's plenty of white trash. There's plenty of, it's not a race issue of government subsidies. I don't know why you had to go to cotton and all that crap, and I think it was really stupid, because now this is exactly what the left wants to do, is paint every person who believes in limited government as a dangerous militia member and a domestic terrorist and a racist. As if we had, and there was almost literally no proof of any of that with the Tea Party, but they tried it anyway. And now here you go. This guy he's not doing a good job. By the way, just because there are people that have questions about what the BLM is doing and how the BLM is doing it, it doesn't mean that this guy is the leader for that movement. It's not like anyone can... Mr. Cliven Bundy, how would you like to either repeal or replace Obamacare, or how would you like to implement changes that could improve the infrastructure of the website, that could improve the efficiency and maybe increase benefits while reducing costs? I don't expect him to have an answer to that. Mr. Bundy, what do you feel about the escalating tensions in Ukraine? Well, I gotta tell you, no, I'm not going to this guy for all of the answers in all of the world, and he's not a leader of anything. So for the left to just jump on this and snarl everybody that has a question and a problem with the heavy-handed tactics of the BLM as racists and bigots and idiots, it's such a tremendous disservice to everybody who doesn't believe in big government taking over, Blake.
Yeah, I hear you. In fact, speaking of InfoWars, they also put another great article out yesterday called "Freedom Under Assault." It's also on my timeline, and it's from a lady. There's a video in there from another, we'll say, Black American, African American named Kira Davis, who's a blogger for IJ Review, who makes a video saying, "I don't care if Cliven Bundy is a racist. This is about, states' rights. This is about the overreaching federal government, regardless of the guy's a bigot or not. This is the bigger story here. This is the one we want to talk about." And then, you just notice how the left probably not doing so well in this story here, not looking too good with Harry Reid and the overreaching government. And then, boom, they found a little crack of something. They found Cliven Bundy in an impromptu video and just totally turned that into the story here, twisted it all. Then you even had Harry Reid, hypocrite, who's made much more insensitive comments before.
Exactly.
Yeah, jumping all over that.
I have those comments in front of me. I was just going to say it. In 2008, Harry Reid said that he was impressed by, quote, light-skinned, end quote, Obama's lack of, quote, Negro dialect, end quote. You remember when Harry Reid and the Hillary Clinton machine and, trying to figure out, are you going to back this candidate or that candidate? In 2008, Harry Reid said he was impressed by light-skinned Obama's lack of Negro dialect. An old white man from Nevada using the word Negro. Even to say the word Negro or Oriental, I mean, to even say those things or hear them, you just go, ooh, it's just like fingernails on a blackboard. It's like, I thought that word was retired. That doesn't even, you know what, I actually had, what is it, what did I have? I had Negro something. I had mole chicken, and it was Negro frijoles or something like that with black beans.
Spanish for black, yeah.
And I looked at the menu, I'm like, this is the first time I've seen or read the word Negro in a long time, and now Harry Reid's quote from 2008, he's impressed by light-skinned Obama's lack of Negro dialect. So who's racist? No, I mean, it's just a little crazy, and I wanted to read you this one, Blake. I know we only have it for another minute or three, but I want to tell you this is from, and it's on our Facebook page. If you search The New American Media with space in between and like our Facebook page, you'll see this. It's from a Facebook member named, goes under the name of Charlie Delta, and he's a black man, and he's standing here in full military fatigues and equipment and gear, making the finger pistol gesture at the camera, and Cliven Bundy with his arm around him. And Charlie says, please make this go viral. It says, the media distorts information to the point of social division. This is a photo of myself and the resilient, often charismatic, and maybe not so tactful Cliven Bundy. He's a cowboy and a hell of a family man, not an orator. One thing he definitely isn't, a racist. I found his comments to not only be not racist, but his own view of his experiences. Who the heck are we to determine another man's perspective on the world around him? Just because Picasso's view of the world was abstract doesn't negate the fact that his art was genuine. Furthermore, if you take the time to do your own research, you'll find that his statements about some black Americans actually hold weight. He posed a hypothetical question. He said, I wonder if... Hell, I'm black, and I often wonder about the same regarding the decline of the black family. Bottom line is that we are all slaves in this waning republic, no matter of our skin color. Mr. Bundy could have used any racial demographic as an example. Native Americans on reservations, whites in trailer parks, etc. He noticed the crippling effects of receiving government assistance and the long-term result of accepting handouts. It's not progress at all. I challenge Sean Hannity, Rand Paul, and others to read my comment and reconsider their position in this matter. Individual liberties are at stake here, yours and mine. That is the issue. Don't let the liberal media and ignoramuses like Glenn Beck and the weasel Harry Reid make you lose sight of the real issue here. The federal government is a burgeoning behemoth and a bully on a once constitutional playground. I sincerely hope you real patriots out there who can see through the I sincerely hope you real patriots out there can see through the smoke. Semper Fidelis. Semper Fi.
Nice.
Shared
Yeah.
7,158 times thus far.
Wow. Yeah, speaking of that, there's a story that's been also circulating. It's also on my Twitter feed from Mediaite, and that's CNN talks to Black Bundy bodyguard who would still take a bullet for him. And you have this interview. You have this journalist, or air quote journalist, talking from CNN, trying to basically get this guy to try to say that Cliven Bundy was a racist. And this guy's name is he's Army veteran Jason Bullock, who says that he was not at all offended by Bundy's comments, wondering whether black people would be better off as actual slaves as opposed to slaves of the federal government. Bullock explained, "Mr. Bundy is not a racist. Ever since I've been here, he's treated me with nothing but hospitality. He's pretty much treating me just like his own family." And he went on to say that he would even take a bullet for that man if need be, saying he still believes in the cause Bundy is fighting and still has, quote, a really good feel about him. So it's really awesome to see all these people coming to his defense, and we're finding the full context of the video. So it's pretty shameless. The New York Times would take that video, and of course Media Matters took it and ran with it, and all of a sudden you'd have these nasty hit pieces, and I covered a few on my show out of like Raw Story, and then all the just insane things that people are saying on the left. You talk about the people that are really pushing a lot of the ugly dialogue around this, and you'll see it all from the left, including there was another great article by InfoWars again where these people were calling for drone strikes against the Bundy Ranch and their supporters. I mean, it's just there's so much hate on the left on this story, and it should not be a partisan issue. And then as soon as they found one little thing to take, even if it was out of context, that's what they did and just ran with it. And then it was nothing but, racist stuff all yesterday and demonizing everybody. And so now the tables have turned yet again. So we shall see how this continues to develop. But
yeah, I mean,
quite
Blake,
the story.
you were out there last week, and I encourage everybody to go to thenewamericanmedia.com and take a look at Blake's reporting. He went out and they handed him hello, my name is. And people wrote in domestic terrorist, and they were handing out those name badges to everybody that were there, which I found, well, in light of Harry Reid saying it and me being it was just hilarious, actually. But I mean, really, it did come to the point of what one of the callers on Panda Radio said was the equivalent of a Mexican standoff, where both sides had arms pointed at each other for over an hour, and it was a really tense situation.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that. I only know the one picture they show with that one sniper that was, had a sniper rifle aimed through that crack in that concrete in the freeway. But I heard that one testimony, but I haven't seen any more on that. I can't quite verify any of that.
Hey, I
didn't sound to me like there was anybody with guns. That was the one testimonial.
Hey, I'll tell you what. That guy that was on with us on Panda Radio. He said he saw it, and the picture shows it. So those are two sources documenting it. I'm going to believe it.
Yeah, I think if there were more pictures, and the left would be throwing those out a lot more, but
I view that picture of that sniper as the picture of the year. It just gave me chills with how tense things really got, and you just wonder, why is it getting so out of control? And something else that's going on, this BLM. I mean, who the hell has even really heard of the BLM? But I got this other story here real quick. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management, the BLM, Oklahoma Field Office, responded to Breitbart, Texas, about the so-called Red River land grab by emphasizing that parcels in question are already held in the public domain and BLM managed. The Bureau claims it is not they who are declaring the ownership, but that settled case law long declared it to be government land. So you have a situation here in the Red River area of Texas, and you have the same exact thing going on, where the BLM's coming in and telling people to get off of their land, and people are saying, this isn't your land. And it's just a wonder, why in the heck is this starting to happen now? Or has it been happening, and now this Bundy Ranch story has shined the flashlight in the other areas, whether it's the spotted owl ruining the logging industry, or the Delta smelt ruining the Central California and Northern California farming industry, and the so-called tortoise is the reason why cattle can't eat some stray grass on desert land. I mean, they're not bothering anybody, and I'd rather feed the country than worry about a Delta smelt. Let's take a few of them and breed them somewhere else and figure it out. you feed them. You don't cut off the water supply to all the farmers that are producing all the food that you lazy Americans aren't growing victory gardens in your backyard to eat yourselves. So I'm just wondering, have you been following this story, Blake? The Red River thing or the BLM in general? Any other comments to kind of wrap it all up in a neat little bow?
Yeah, I do have to wrap it up, so I'll just have to leave with a couple of sources. One, the first thing I'd say is, there's going to be a big pushback. This stuff has been going on for quite a while. The Bundy thing did highlight it, like you said, and is bringing it more attention. Unlike Nevada, Texas is not going to put up with that. Rick Perry has been very clear, but also the Attorney General there, who I really like. His name escapes me right now. And there has more to do with there's a kind of a sinister land grab going on. There was an excellent Michael Snyder article, which is found in various sources. I probably linked to it from InfoWars. I'm not sure. It's on my, here we go. Yes, it's called Agenda 21, the BLM Land Grabbing Endgame. And so, it's going to get into more of that, unfortunately.
Did you have a chance to distill it, though? Just like sum it up in a sentence or three, though?
It's very thorough. It's got, why is the federal government so obsessed with grabbing more land? They say they've already got 40% of the land in 9 different states. Now, allegedly, that's kind of unconstitutional. The federal government is only supposed to own the land, like certain parts of Washington, D.C., where some of the major government buildings are, but that's it. So they've kind of been allowed to have all this land out west. Trying to figure out exactly. So they say the truth all becomes more clear once you understand that there's a very twisted philosophy behind what they're doing. It is commonly known as Agenda 21, and basically those that hold on to this form of radical environmentalism believe that humanity is utterly destroying the planet, and therefore the goal should be to create a world where literally everything that we do is tightly monitored and controlled by control-freak bureaucrats in the name of sustainable development. And in their vision of the future, the human population will be greatly reduced and human activity will be limited to strictly regulated urban areas and travel corridors. The rest of the planet will be left to nature. To achieve this goal, a massive transfer of land from private landowners to the federal government will be necessary. So that is all the time that I have, but I encourage people to go check that out. I got a lot of that stuff on my timeline on Twitter. So that's the name of it, Agenda 21, the BLM Land Grabbing Endgame by Michael Snyder.
That was a pretty good representation, a pretty good summarization, I would say. Okay, perfect. So then, in your waning moments here, just tell everybody where they can stay connected with you: Twitter, your TV show or your radio show, all that stuff, your homepage, all that stuff, and we'll let you run here.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me. Sorry we couldn't speak a little longer here, but let's see. My best place for people to find me is on Twitter, because that's where I'm always active. It's where I'm always keeping, trying to, put out articles or, put out media. That's Eccentric99. I do a radio show 3 days a week. That's Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 12 to 1:30 at freedomizerradio.com. You can also get the podcast by going to iTunes and searching for Eccentric Perspective. I also have a homepage at eccentricperspective.com. I have some pretty interesting things on there. And I think that is all for now.
Except all the good coverage that you did that's linked up at thenewamericanmedia.com, all the Bundy Ranch coverage. And final question out the door. Yes. Please check out the newamericanmedia.com and all the stuff Blake did over there, because it's good stuff. I was wondering, Blake, in the future, and just something maybe you could chew on while you're working and maybe driving in or whatever, I was wondering if you might be able to get some interviews, maybe track down some of these other ranchers, these other 52. Cliven Bundy apparently is the 53rd and final remaining rancher that has not been pushed off his land. I'm wondering if you could track down some of the other ranchers that have been pushed off their land to figure out how they did it, what was done to kick them off their land. I'm really curious to get a bigger perspective aside from just this Cliven Bundy ranch.
It's an interesting thought. The only issue is if they're ranchers, they're probably kind of rural-minded people that probably aren't living in the city here. I'll just leave the Daily Caller or Breitbart or somebody like that to do that part of the investigating for me, because that would I don't think I have the time or the resources to pursue, although that is a very good idea. If they're not bound by some sort of legalese by the contracts they signed to get off that land. It certainly would be interesting to see how that all came about and where, because allegedly a lot of that money that, Cliven Bundy would be happy to give his money to local communities where it benefits the community, but not to a, bureaucratic agency that's unaccountable that perhaps is using that money to not only bribe off other ranchers to get off the land, but also to, buy all that military equipment to bully people off if they can't bribe them off with their raw deals. So
yeah,
anyway,
I just
to be continued. Right?
Yeah, to be continued, absolutely. And I just wonder how in the world could you rack up $1 million for eating stray grass? I mean, it's not like they're really providing anything. They're just walking around eating some grass. And the Bundys have made range improvements, putting aquifers out there, putting little desert oases that other birds use, and other. I mean, they've done good things. They're not dumping toxic Fukushima-like radiation into the desert, and they have to be stopped at all costs. So bring in the snipers and the helicopters. That's not the case. It just seems absolutely insane. I don't know. So there's more to say.
BLM had a good case. We could defend them, but they don't, and they're not there. Gave us a BS turtle story, and it didn't really hold any value. The $1 million, where do they come up with that number? And the way they negotiate is not the way you would want them to act. They just came up there with sniper rifles and started bullying around the family, throwing Margaret Houston to the ground, and tasering Ammon Bundy. So they don't really want to negotiate like normal people. So they kind of lost their high ground and deserve to be scrutinized, I suppose.
Yeah, they should absolutely.
Brian,
absolutely,
really
man.
go,
Thank you for your time,
Blake.
Blake.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
I appreciate it, and I'm going to play that video off of InfoWars, and just to wrap up that point, then everybody, I know this cannot be the first time that the BLM has asked for the Bundys to pay. There's no way the first time, hey, you owe us $1 million. By the way, we're going to come on out and we're going to attack you. No, this has been going on for a long time. 20 years, they've been contacted a lot of different times. And the reason they came out so heavy-handed is because apparently they've threatened to use violence and defend their property before. And it's a complicated case. It's complicated, but I don't understand why. Why would you, and to call them deadbeats? I mean, what service are they? I mean, they're just wandering on land that everybody is supposed to be able to use, and they cut a deal with the state back in 1877 when the family took over there, that they could have the mutual rights because the state wanted people producing food for the people. It's a barren wasteland. It's a stinking desert. Oh, now things are a little different. We're siphoning off all this water, and look at Las Vegas. Now we don't need the ranchers. Well, you know what? How about deal with it? I don't get it. Pay some nominal fees, but what is that, average about $50,000 a year to eat some stray grass? It doesn't make a lick of sense. Where do you come up with $50,000 a year for 20 years over $1 million? At least 50. I think they want $1.1 million. I don't get it. So then, let's round up the cattle, but let's shoot a bunch of them. What? Let's dump them and bury them. Yeah, that's a good idea. Don't get it. But regarding those comments here that, Blake did have to get going, do appreciate his time today. Here's the original clip, the full clip illustrating the original New York Times report that edited out statements made by Bundy both before and after his supposedly racist remarks, which when taken out of their full context actually constitute a pro-minority position. Media Matters also cut out these crucial comments from their YouTube upload of Bundy's remarks. So let's just hear it in its entirety. 3 minutes 13.
And so what I'm testifying to you, I was in the Watts riot. I seen the beginning fire, and I seen the last fire. What I seen is civil disturbance. People are not happy. People are thinking they don't have their freedoms and don't have these things, and they didn't have them.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to play it for you, and then I'm going to read the text so you can get both of them. His words exactly, and then the text written out here on the page on InfoWars. It says, and so what I've testified to you, I was in the Watts riots. I seen the beginning fire, and I seen the last fire. What I seen is civil disturbance. People are not happy. People is thinking they did not have their freedom. They didn't have these things, and they didn't have them.
We've progressed quite a bit from that day until now, and we sure don't want to go back. We sure don't want these colored people to have to go back to that point. We sure don't want these Mexican people to go back to that point. And we can make a difference right now by taking care of some of these bureaucracies and do it in a peaceful way.
We've progressed quite a bit from that day until now and sure don't want to go back. We sure don't want the colored people to go back to that point. We sure don't want the Mexican people to go back to that point. And we can make a difference right now by taking care of some of these bureaucracies and do it in a peaceful way.
Let me talk to you about the Mexicans. These are just things I know about the Negro. I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro. When I go through Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and I would see these little government houses, and in front of that government house, the door was usually open, and the older people and the kids, and there's always at least a half a dozen people sitting on the porch. They didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have nothing for their kids to do. They didn't have nothing for their young girls to do.
Let me tell you, talk to you about the Mexicans. These are just things I know about the Negroes. I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro. When I go to Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and I would see these little government houses, and in front of that government house, the door was usually open, and the older people and the kids, and there was always at least a half dozen people sitting on the porch. They didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have nothing for the kids to do. They didn't have nothing for the young girls to do.
And because they were basically on government subsidy, and so now what do? They abort their young children. They put their young men in jail because they never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves picking cotton, having family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy?
And because they were basically on government subsidy, now what do? They abort their young children. They put their young men in jail because they've never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves, picking cotton and having a family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy?
Yeah, they didn't get no more freedom. They got less freedom. They had less family alive, and their happiness, you can see in their faces, they weren't happy sitting on that concrete sidewalk. Down there, they were probably growing their turnips. So that's all government. That's not freedom.
You know, they didn't get more freedom. They got less freedom. They got less family life, and their happiness, you could see it in their faces. They were not happy sitting on that concrete sidewalk. Down there, they was probably growing their turnips. So that's all government. That's not freedom.
Now let me talk about the Spanish people. You know, I understand that they come over here against our Constitution and cross our borders. But they're here, and they're people. And I've worked side by side a lot of them. Don't tell me they don't work, and don't tell me they don't pay taxes. Mm-hmm. And don't tell me they don't have better family structures than most of us white people. When you see those Mexican families, they're together, they're picnic together, they're spending their time together, and I'll tell you, in my way of thinking, they're awful nice people. And we need to have those people join us and be with us, not come to our party.
Now let me talk about the Spanish people. You know, I understand they come over here against our Constitution and cross our borders, but they're here, and they're people. And I've worked side by side, a lot of them. Don't tell me they don't work, and don't tell me they don't pay taxes, and don't tell me they don't have better family structure than most of us white people. And when you see those Mexican families, they're together. They'll picnic together. They're spending their time together. And I'll tell you, in my way of thinking, they're awful nice people. And we need to have those people join us and be with us, not come to our party. Let me read the text off this article. It says, while Bundy's use of terms such as Negro and colored people and references to pig and cotton are undoubtedly politically incorrect, though not unsurprising for an 80-year-old farmer, When taken in its full context, his argument is actually anti-racist in that it laments the plight of black families who have been caught in the trap of dependency on government. The comments that were also vehemently pro-Mexican were not included in any of the mainstream reports, which smeared Bundy as a racist. The comments that were also vehemently pro-Mexican were not included in any of the mainstream reports, which smeared Bundy as a racist. What's more sad than the refusal to openly discuss the issues is how quickly the conservative right's willingness to throw Bundy to the wolves, based solely on the New York Times and New York in Media Matters opinion, writes a conservative Treehouse blog, noting that Bundy's comments are no more controversial than those made by Shirley Sherrod, who was staunchly defended by leftists. While Bundy's remarks have been spun as racist call for a return to slavery, he is clearly using references to slavery only to make a point that blacks are no better off living under the economic slavery of the welfare state. Furthermore, Bundy's argument that they abort their young children, they put their young men in jail, is clearly directed at the government's treatment of black people and is therefore a defense of and not an attack on black Americans. It is 100% clear that Cliven Bundy is not saying the blacks should be slaves picking cotton, but that the federal government has created conditions for them that are so terrible that their current situation may actually be worse, writes Jack Flash, and he's not blaming blacks for the issues of abortions and crime and broken families. He's blaming the feds. This is the exact opposite of a racist, and he is an advocate for the welfare and best interests of blacks. Racist? Why is he praising Mexicans as better than whites if he's some sort of white supremacist racist? I have just got to tell you, this is such a bizarre story. This story is weird on so many levels. I mean, tens of thousands of views from our coverage at Live at the Bundy Ranch. You know, which for a little fledgling radio show, as we are, you know, that's a lot of coverage, that's a lot of clicks, and we've been getting a lot of comments. And this is just a strange story. There's no way around it. You know, you have, take every angle. The Bundys, they're Mormon, and those Mormons, they're Illuminati, and Glenn Beck is Judas, and then you got Glenn Beck ripping on InfoWars, and InfoWars tearing into Glenn Beck, and I don't know how this turns left and right issue. For the welfare farmer, he's a welfare farmer, pot calling the kettle black. There obviously had to be a deal in place since 1877 for his family to be doing what they've been doing. And there's obviously got to be something going on why 52 of the 53 ranchers there have been run off their land. Yes, run off, not they all decided to leave within the same decade. How shocking. And a fed-up farmer and family that are just willing to draw a line in the sand, figuratively and literally, probably, and say this is wrong. You know, this BLM Texas thing. This is from Breitbart. BLM Public Relations Specialist Paul McGuire, because the BLM controversy is a lot bigger than Cliven Bundy. And this is going on all across the country. You hear different reports and different stories all over the place. So, BLM Public Relations Specialist Paul McGuire agreed to a one-on-one telephone interview with Breitbart, Texas, after reading the original report published earlier this week. In contrast with the interview with Texas General Land Office Commissioner Jerry Patterson, McGuire expressed much more confidence about the ownership of the land and indicated little, if any, ambiguity about how or why the land should be under federal control. Quote, "It's not the BLM making any such claim as to the status of the land," McGuire said. "That land was a matter that the courts decided decades ago. They adjudicated decades ago, going back to the 1920s, in fact. The Supreme Court settled the matter as to where the public land in the Red River was, so BLM is really just proceeding on those earlier court decisions," end quote. Both McGuire and Patterson agreed about the unique set of political and historical circumstances that led to this situation of confusing and apparently conflicting laws regarding the property ownership and control of the land along the Red River boundary between Oklahoma and Texas. However, there is disagreement on a couple of major sticking points. Commissioner Patterson believes strongly that as part of the planning process, a survey project must be completed to determine exactly where the boundaries are located and, if they have moved, what the cause of the movement was, as the cause relates directly to ownership changes. Patterson also questions why the BLM suddenly feels the need to manage the land they've ignored for decades, if not centuries. So, let me see if I can maybe distill this a little bit as best my limited research has helped me understand in this case. people that own land there, if the river moves a certain way. So let's say, put your hand out right in front of you. Come on, you're listening. Just put your hand out. Maybe that could be a cool club song. Put your hand out. Oh no, that could be a Cliven Bundy remix. People could call him the Welfare Rancher. Put your hand out. Sorry, this is getting really stupid real quick. Anyways, put your hand out. Imagine there's a river that goes left and right, okay? And the border of it's right there. Now, let's say through erosion and regular earth changes and, there's more water, there's less water. As the river goes, it erodes, and maybe it starts moving away from you. So you'd have to take 2 steps forward to reach out and touch where the river is. Now, over decades and decades, the boundaries could go quite a distance. And the river, as the boundary, moves the river, but you have gained more land because the river has moved. I believe that's kind of at the crux of the controversy here with Commissioner Patterson, what he's talking about. What's with the sudden need to do this stuff? What is the huge, enormous problem that requires snipers and attack dogs and tasers and semi-automatic weapons and SWAT vehicles and for what? For cattle eating some grass. This isn't about a tortoise. That BS story is done. That's not it. That was one of the first excuses they tried. So why are they trying? Who are they? And BLM, I'm a member of a homeowners association. We have a management company, Bureau of Land Management. We hire a management company. They don't walk around with attack dogs and sniper rifles and kick us out of our condos. Why are they doing it to farmers? Like I said before, if this family had been polluting the water supply, if they'd been dumping radioactive waste into the desert, hell yeah, go get them. Hell yeah, go get them. Doesn't seem to be the case here. So it's a weird story. We're going to continue to follow it, but it's never made sense to us. And just watching what happened in that Pete Santilli video, who we interviewed. We went to the source. It's that viral video at the Bundy Ranch riot, I think he called it. We went out there and interviewed him and just tried to get the back. What happened before this? What else was going on? There's always more to the story. There's different perspectives on a story. It just made no sense at that level of aggression. It just didn't make any sense at all. And so that's one of the things we went out there to cover, because it just didn't seem right. It never seemed right. So if it doesn't seem right, then there's got to be more to it. Is Harry Reid involved? Is the Agenda 21 at the core of this? What is the deal? And that's what we're trying to figure out. And Blake's been doing some good work, and we have all of his pieces uploaded at thenewamericanmedia.com. Please take a look at those. Check them out, faux sure. Definitely check those things out. Because we just want to get the rest of the story. You're only getting bits and pieces, and just to see the different. I don't know. This case is beyond weird. Because when I heard these Bundy comments, I was like, oh my. Really? And like I said, not that this guy's some sort of spiritual leader. He's not some sort of political leader. He's not some... this is no messiah to follow, this Cliven Bundy. He's a guy. And people didn't like the heavy-handed tactics, and they came out to support him and said, this is wrong. You guys need to continue working diplomatically and find a solution. This is not right. Throwing women to the ground, attacking, sending attack dogs and shooting cattle from helicopters. This doesn't make any sense. You want to seize the cattle and sell it? Then why are you shooting them? What the hell's wrong with you people? Yeah, that makes sense. And then you see these comments, you're like, really? I wonder if they're better off picking... They never learned to pick cotton? Oh my God. Really? I went there. I spoke with Cliven Bundy. Spoke with his son Dave Bundy. Spoke with his sister Margaret Houston. Spoke with Pete Santilli. Spoke with a lot of these characters down there. And just by me being there doesn't mean that I'm necessarily supporting the cause and saying they're 100% right. When there's a journalist asking questions And I'm an opinion guy, so I come up with opinions based on it. And you come up with different opinions based on different facts. And I saw this comment and finally heard the audio from Cliven Bundy and just shook my head. I don't know if you've ever been in college or something where it could have been in high school as well. You have a friend, maybe especially dudes or especially jocks. But you got that friend that's always running his mouth. And every now and then you end up in a bar fight. And you've never thrown a punch personally, and you've never instigated anything, but you always kind of tend to be around the people that are doing it. You just shake your head. You're like, come on, man. What? I gotta, kind of stand up for you, but, you're in the wrong here, buddy. I gotta try to diffuse this situation and escape you from it. I didn't run there to the Bundy Ranch. I'm driving 5 hours out of my way. I did have another reason to go to Las Vegas for my buddy's wedding. Congratulations, by the way. But I didn't take those extra 6 hours on those 2 days to get up there and take up arms and fight people. Now, was I armed? Come on. Seriously? Did I also have a bunch of water with me? Come on, I'm in a desert. Seriously? Of course. But not looking for any trouble. And I'm not necessarily defending this guy, and I'm not necessarily throwing him under the bus, but I did ask his son, and I believe I asked his sister, what would you say to the people that would call your family deadbeats for not paying your taxes? Check out the interview with Dave Bundy to get his answer. The son. Check out the sister. Get the answer. I asked that question. But when you say they never learn to pick cotton, come on, man, you're calling people Negroes and colored people. But he's an 80-year-old dude that lives a pretty sheltered existence. I'm sure you've had grandparents and the way they talk. Or known people of similar age. There's different vernacular. But I shook my head and I just, son of a... because for all the Tea Party stuff that came out, oh, this is an anti-Obama, therefore anti-black. Well, Barack Obama's half black and he's half white. So to say that was all against Barack Obama because he's black was insane from the beginning. But the left had no other option because so many people were standing up and saying, no, we don't want a total government control takeover of the healthcare industry, 1/6 of our economy. No, we don't want that. Racists? Really? Why? Really? What do you guys are racists. Seriously, tell me why. Because you're racist. Okay, great. No, that's a great train of thought there. I appreciate that. Well crafted, intense scrutiny. I really like your breakdown of this complex issue. Racist. And that's what we got with the Tea Party. And that's the cloud hanging over. If it's not talk radio and if it's not Fox News, pretty much everything swings very pro-left. Totally in the pocket of left-wing, socialist, liberal, progressive, Democrat policies, however you want it, Marxist, communist, whatever blend or variety, whatever. So they're all trying to paint anybody against this administration's big government takeover as racist. Which, of course, is not the case. And also does not mean that racists are not part of the movement and part of the people that want to restore civil liberties. Sorry, even people with misguided ideas are right on other things. There are people I agree with on politics, but they root for the Pittsburgh Steelers somehow. Wow, what a misguided fool. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. What a misguided fool. There are Cleveland Browns fans that are totally still supporting Barack Obama somehow. Trust him. Based on what? The National Defense Authorization Act? Based on all the Edward Snowden's NSA Fourth Amendment violations? Based on the fact that they're either grossly incompetent or completely, negligent? Just making up stories on Benghazi where our heroes are dying over there. They blame a YouTube video guy and throw him in jail. Nobody saw a video and the guy's still in jail. Great scapegoat, buddy. Fast and Furious. Eric Holder talking about needing to brainwash people against guns every day in the schools. We need to brainwash people. Really? You mean brainwash him by you setting up a gun running plan through the ATF to run American guns and American numbers, guns that were registered in America to the drug cartels to then turn around and shoot American citizens, and it killed border agent Brian Terry with one of those guns? The tens of thousands of bodies piling up down there? Oh, you mean like the attempt to, brainwash people against guns by getting all the guns down there, and then everybody says, oh, guns are bad, you gotta stop guns. No. I've never been more certain than in my entire life, being at the Bundy Ranch, than watching that picture, that video. That picture of that man on the bridge with the rifle, aiming at the BLM agents, not pulling the trigger, just protecting the people from the BLM. It got that close. There's a meme that said, America was this close to the Second American Revolution today. And that's serious. And I've never felt more confident that the people need to have what the police have. Because when the people fear the government, you have tyranny. But when the government fears the people, you have liberty. And without that video there, they'd have thrown as many women to the ground as they wanted. They'd sick the attack dogs on as many people as they wanted. They shot the stun guns wherever they wanted, however many people, and I'm sure the actual guns would have came out. And it would have came out in a reported story without any video coverage that a bunch of hilljacks in the middle of nowhere attacked federal agents, and several people were killed from the bad guy side. I'm sure that's what would have been the story. And I think that's why the response to this story was so strong, because people wanted to get down there and document it, because cockroaches hate sunlight. There are a lot of stories that say, there was a California town, I forget which one it was, I want to say Rialto, but I'm not certain, a California town that put video cameras on all the police, the little lapel cameras or wherever they have it, so they can record and document what's happening, and their police abuse complaints fell by like 85%. Really? So if you know you're being watched, you're going to behave a little better? Okay. Well, that's good from the police. It's bad from the NSA, because the Fourth Amendment says unless you have reasonable suspicion, unless you have probable cause, you can't just go around grabbing everybody's data. But nobody's doing anything about it. So people still want to trust this administration. And that's the point I was getting at there. You could be a liberty lover and root for the Pittsburgh Squealers. You can question what's going on with Cliven Bundy, but not support some of the comments that he makes. And just to label an entire movement or an entire group of people or an entire ideology as racist based on one person saying something, it doesn't mean the other people feel that way. Oh, those comments were ridiculously stupid and offensive. I just cringed reading them. But to be fair, just like Blake was saying, in this unedited video, he's making pro-black and pro-Mexican comments. They have a much better family structure than most of us white people. This guy is not my leader. I don't fully support this family in their legal battle. But I'll tell you what, there are constitutional issues about whether the federal government can own land, and if so, under what strict provisions are allowed to it from the Constitution. Just like the 10th Amendment with Obamacare. Any power not specifically delegated to the federal government by the states shall be reserved for the states to handle. Who says this is a government issue, a federal government issue? And the federal government has grown way too large. It's a beast that eats its own tail, and it just keeps growing and growing. Maybe not the best situation, because the snake that eats its own tail will eventually kill itself. But really, isn't that what happens when you put $17 trillion on a credit card? You're kind of killing yourself. You're killing the goose that lays the golden egg. And I think that's a lot of what's happening right now. People are sensing that this is a lot bigger than Cliven Bundy. And I agree. This is way bigger than Cliven Bundy. I'm actually surprised to hear those comments before and after, edited out. Hey, guys, just be honest. That statement still doesn't make sense in the context of this. I still don't like those comments at all. Public subsidies, public housing, that's not white or black or Latino. It's not. It's human. It's American. Does it actually provide the skill set, the motivation, the drive, the oversight, and the incentive for people to get off of welfare? Or does it encourage a perpetual voting class of people that will never vote against drying these programs up and getting them off of the programs versus getting their free money? That's a conversation I'm willing to have. But Cliven Bundy's not my leader, okay? He's not my leader. I'll have that conversation on my own. But I still don't want to see Harry Reid come back and just blow these people up at all. That's insane. I want to see peace, and I want to see. I want to find some way for this situation to work its way out peacefully. But we're going to keep covering it here, so please check out all the videos we have at thenewamericanmedia.com. Please subscribe to us at youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Please follow us on Twitter. We're at American_media_, and please do a search for The New American Media on Facebook and like our page. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a pivot here, a hard pivot, and we're going to bring in Zach Barris. Zach is a lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout, and we're in the middle. Well, okay, we're not in the middle, but we have begun the NBA playoff season, and really, it's such a kind of long and pointless season anyway. It's pretty much just coast through, make it to the playoffs, and then kick it into that next gear. And I love this time of year talking with Zach, and it really feels sometimes like the basketball season never ends. So let's just do this. We're gonna pause for a brief station identification break. If you're listening live, it will take just a moment. And if you're listening after the fact, thank you so much for finding us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. And yeah, I mean, we're about a week away from celebrating our 3-year anniversary. So we're going to bring Zach into the program in just a second. My name is Brian Engelman. Special thanks to Blake Walley for joining us. And we're about to launch. What's the name of the show? What is the name of the show that we're about to launch?
It's the Unhappy Hour.